Hey, what's up? Today I want to talk about ideas and how ideas are spread and communicated. So this kind of goes back to this idea when I'm creating a design and thinking of a product or a flow or a user journey, how do I communicate that to other people? How do I communicate that to my collaborators, to my stakeholders, even to my users? So let's just kind of start very basic. I have an idea. That's what this is. This is an idea. It's a light bulb, an idea bulb. And I take this idea and I need to communicate it, right? So I could grab a friend, a collaborator, and go to coffee and just kind of chat and talk about this idea and get their input and mold the way I'm thinking about it and change the way I'm thinking about it in real time. The idea at this point is very malleable, and so I can, be influenced greatly by anything that's around me. But we both walk away, even though we both shared that experience of the conversation, we both walk away with kind of two separate ideas of what the product or the idea is, even though we are the only two. There's not a lot of voices, a lot of opinions in the process at this point, but even still, it's low fidelity. And so why don't I make that a little bit more high touch? And if I make a sketch of it, the sketch of this idea or the interface or the flow, it's going to be a little bit more clear to each other, and I'm going to feel more expressed, and it's going to be more clear to this other person what the idea actually is and how it will be represented when it's finalized. If I could take that a step further and go over to my computer and draw some boxes, go over to Sketch or XD and kind of just like make a mock-up, a high fidelity mock-up. And this will be good to communicate to a lot more people, and they'll have a clearer picture of what it will be like in the end. And I could even go one step further and start coding and making a prototype in code. Now, all of these things are communication tools. A conversation is a communication tool, obviously. A sketch, a mock-up, a prototype. These are all, they are really nothing, right? They're not the final expression of the idea. They're not the idea themselves, but they are more and more complete pictures of that idea. We'll notice that our process is getting more and more complex as we move down this road. When I say complexity, I'm talking about how long it takes to generate the next artifact, or how solid that artifact needs to be before people can understand and appreciate it. And when we're talking about complexity, and even though we're moving in complexity as we go down this road, we're also gaining more fidelity. So people are getting a more clear picture of what the idea actually is as we go down this road. But there's a catch. We're also losing agility. See, when it was just that conversation, me and my friend, we could change our minds. We could switch user personas on the fly, and kind of like have huge swings in our ideation immediately with no latency. But as we go up, how long does it take to sketch another set of layouts? How long does it take to design another set of screens, right? So the time it takes to iterate is getting higher with each more of a complex step that we take. Code up a new, make alterations or code a new prototype. It takes a lot longer than it does just to have a conversation. So I hope this is useful. I think the reason that we would want to understand this idea, is that we should use whatever communication tool is appropriate whenever it's appropriate, depending on the audience or the need or the time frame you have available to you. And the perfect place for you to start working or to be working is where you can get the most communication, the most fidelity for the least amount of effort. That's like the perfect place that you want to be in. And so that's the idea. But I also have one other observation, and that is this: when I'm having a discussion with a friend, it's just one-to-one, it's really easy to have a higher fidelity discussion from one person to another person, right? When you start making groups, a lot of information is lost in that transaction, and so that's why we would need a little bit more help from these other artifacts. So if I make a sketch, then it's easy to talk to a small group of people and be like, no, this is what I'm thinking, and kind of sketch it out. And this is true as we go up kind of the fidelity chain here, that these mocks, you can post them on Dribble or send them to your team or whatever, and people are going to have a much better understanding of what you're talking about in the end. And then, the final expression of a product should be able to be used by your end user, which hopefully could be any internet person. So anyway, consider these things when you're thinking about, okay, what should be my next steps? What should I start working on in order to deliver a good product and a good experience for my users? All right, go communicate. Done. That's the idea. That's the thought.